Visit CCGCastle.com and get 5% discount on your purchase with TCG Center 5 code. Check video description or visit CCG Castle for more. How's it going, guys? Welcome back to Pokemon TCG Center. In today's video, we'll be looking at Mega Absol Disruption. So basically, this is the deck for the Primal class shown. I decided to build something for the fun, not to be very competitive. And as you can see in front of you, it's a Absol with a Dark Fang and a Mega Absol with Disaster Wings. So basically, what is really special about this deck? Definitely Dark Fang attack, which says that you can flip a coin. With one energy, you can hit for 20, and if you get heads, you can discard a random card from your opponent's hand. This is just totally devastating, because if you can start with the red card, shuffle your opponent will shuffle down his hand into his deck, and then he will draw 4 cards. And if you have Stadium in play, you can Delinquent him down to 1 card. And basically, with Dark Fang, you can get your opponent to discard pretty much every card that he have in his hand. So with the Dark Fang, you can put him down to 0 cards, and he will depend on the top deck, which will actually give you the chance to Mega Evolve into a Mega Absol and just start to use those Disaster Wings for tons of damages. In addition to that, I'm running a lot of different cards. So for example, since I'm not running Shamans, I decided to roll with 4 copies of Acro Bike, because Acro Bike can help me to drop some cards through my deck. So basically with 4 copies of Acro Bike, I can look at the top 2 cards of my deck, put one of them into my hand and discard other one. Of course, I'm running 4 copies of Crushing Hammer, so I can discard as many energies as I can from my opponent Pokemon's in play, same as the 1 copy of Enhanced Hammer. In addition to that, I decided to roll with 2 copies of Escape Rope, because Escape Rope can also be a very disruptive card, and it can also do a lot of headache to your opponents in play with his Pokemons on the bench, who actually have tons of retreat and they don't have pretty much flow stone on them. 4 copies of red cards, because it's very important to start with the red card, but also in the mid or late game, as once your opponent is able to hit something like N or maybe Professor Sycamore, he can just easily draw a fresh hand, and being able to have red card later, so you can actually again disrupt him with the Delinquent and Stadium in play down to 1 card, which is always good. 1 copy of Super Rod, always good to have. 4 copies of Trainers Mail, 4 Ultra Balls, and 4 V Seekers, of course. From supporter cards, I decided to run 2 Delinquents, because with 2 copies of Delinquent, there's a bigger chance that I might be able to hit Delinquent red card and Stadium turn 1, which is definitely going to be a devastating blow. 1 copy of Hex Maniac, so you can shut down those abilities. A Lysandre, 2 copies of N, and also 1 copy of Pokémon Ranger, just in case I face up those Glaceons. I'm not going to be able to attack them, so Ranger is definitely a good one. 4 copies of Sycamore for extra drop support. Also 1 Team Flare Grunt, which is going to be useful, because with the Team Flare Grunt, I can just easily discard an energy attached to my opponent active Pokemon. 1 copy of Parallel City, 1 copy of Reverse Valley, so I can hit for 170 with my Mega Absol, and of course 1 copy of Silent Lab, because I can also shut down those abilities pretty early in the game. And I decided to roll with 10 regular Darkness energies. No sign of the Mega Turbo, just pure 10 Darkness energies. You can always cut those 2 energies down to 2 Mega Turbos, so you can actually use Mega Turbo to power up your Mega Absol. But since Mega Absol can attack only for 2 energies, I think it's just not that necessary. If you're looking for any of these cards, you can find them always on CCGCastle.com with the 5% discount on your purchase. You can always get by typing TCG Center 5 code. So let's do some gameplay so you can actually see that Mega Disruption in action. So see you in the game. Alright guys, let's call the heads. Let's take a look at the opening hand. So it looks like I'm going to start second, which is not that bad, because I can just easily disrupt my opponent's hand down to 0 cards if I go second. So there's just Mega Absol with 2 red cards, Ultra Ball, and some Crushing Hammer and other stuff in my hand. But I really need to find my Absol as fast as I can. So I'm just running 4 copies of Absol, so this is very risky, but I managed to get 2 of them in my opening hand, which is not that bad. On the other side, I have Parallel City, which against Mega Rayquaza definitely gonna be devastating, that is for sure. Also Crushing Hammer in the opening hand with the Hex Maniac. I guess it's pretty good. Okay, so let's take a look at the opening for the Mega Ray. So there is 1 Psychic Energy, and there's a Shaman EX for 3. Alright, not bad. I have Crushing Hammer, so hopefully I'm going to be able to hit the heads on the Crushing Hammer. I also have that Ultra Ball and Parallel City, which is going to be a very devastating blow for my opponent if he decides to roll with tons of Pokemon on his bench. On the other side, I can also hit with that Dark Fang for 20, discard if I get heads one card from, at the random from his hand, so who knows what else I can get. So there is Rayquaza, Mega Rayquaza, and one more Shaymin-EX for the setup. So Trainers Mail means that he can grab Lysandre. Alright, he might gonna play that Lysandre, might not. Unfortunately, I'm not running Shaymins, because if I play Shaymin, and if I start with the Shaymin, this is going to be very bad. But in this case, if I have Shaymin, this is probably going to be very, very good play. So there is a Vulpix and Shaymin-EX for extra setup of 3 cards in a total. So 7 Pokemons already on my opponent's bench, and after I play Parallel City and cut him down to 3 cards, 3 Pokemons, this is definitely going to be devastating. I mean, he should probably just discard those Shaymins and Hoopa, maybe even one of his Zoruas, but definitely from 8 down to 3, well, this is going to be devastating blow. So Shaymin-EX for 2 more, and will there be Mega Evolution for the first turn? So there's Rayquaza Spirit Link and Mega Rayquaza, which means that he find Mega Rayquaza turn 1, and that's definitely great for him. And there's another Professor's Ladder, which means that he's gonna be able to grab 2 energies. And even if I use my Parallel City, okay, so let's just first go with a Crushing Hammer and hope to get heads. Unfortunately, that was a tails, so I'm going to use my Parallel City, put my opponent down to 3 Pokemons on his bench, which means that even if he had double course energy sitting in his hand, he is not going to be able to hit for more like a 90. Which is definitely great. And on the other side, I guess I can just go with my Hex Maniac for that turn 1, and with my Dark Fang for like a 20. But the most important thing, I'm also going to play my Hex Maniac just in case he managed to find those Shaymins. He's not going to be able to set up. So there's a Dark Fang, 20. Will there be heads? Yes. And Mega Rayquaza just discarded, which is just fantastic. As you can see, Mega Rayquaza discarded at the random. So there's just a Darkness Energy, which means that he's not going to be even able to attack. And there's a Crushing Hammer, so can I maybe get heads? Yep, there's a heads, which means that I can even discard one of his energies from that Mega Rayquaza. And I guess I'm just going to attach my energy on my Absol on the bench. And we'll go with my Dark Fang for another 20 damage. Let's take a look if I can get a heads. Yep, there's a heads, and there's a Hoopa-EX just discarded. Oh my goodness, this is fantastic. This is definitely fantastic. He's down to 4. There's another Darkness. This time there is Mega Turbo and Fighting Energy. This is going to be 90 damage. So I really need to find supporter as fast as I can. And the top deck for me is just a Mega Absol. Should I go with my Mega Absol or not? Well, I guess I should just Mega Evolve and pretty much end this turn. I could actually Mega Evolve my active Mega Absol, but in case he was able to find maybe supporter card or something like that, he's gonna be able to knock out my Mega Absol, so I just didn't do that. So there's a top deck, a Darkness Energy, which is definitely great. So let's go with Disaster Wing for 160. Yes, for the 160 damage, Ultra Ball was the top deck card, and right now he's just discarded. And for the next one, I can easily knock out his Mega Ray. So there's a Trainer's Mail. Will he be able maybe to one-hit knock out my Mega Absol? Well, probably that's not going to be that easy. So there's a Skyfield. Okay. Things started to be a little bit different right now. He just need to find 4 more Pokemons and put them onto his bench. So there's one Rayquaza, so 3 more to go. So will he be able to find 3 more? Really hard to say. I really depend on the top deck. I really need to get that supporter card for draw. Really, really need it. I mean, 2 Hoopas discarded. There's Professor Sycamore. 3 Shaymins and 1 Zorua also discarded. And I'm just have my Mega Absol and I'm battling with my Mega Absol. So there's another Rayquaza Spirit Link. And there's a Ninetales, which means that I cannot play my Stadium card in play. And there's another Trainer's Mail. So he definitely need to find something like a Super Rod. to bring back his Pokemons back into his deck. So there's Ultra Ball. If he played 3 copies of Hoopa, he can easily Ultra Ball, grab Hoopa, and this is probably going to be it. But if he don't play 3 copies of Hoopa, he can just grab 1 more Shaman, which is going to be 5th Pokemon on his bench. Right now he can hit for 150, 4 more cards to be drawn. Will there be 2 more Pokemons? It's really hard to say. So there's another Rayquaza and Zoroark, and will there be... Well, this is going to be it. Who knows? Who knows, but hopefully I'm going to find that top deck supporter card because I really need it. Also, 2 copies of Mega Turbo already has been discarded, and that can mean only one thing, that he might not going to be able to power up his Mega Rayquaza on the next turn, but there's a big double Chorus Energy and Emerald Break for 150. And what is the top deck? I really need that top deck. Oh, just the Pokémon Ranger, so Disaster Wing. Again, Ultra Ball discarded, 160. Bang, just like that, but probably this is it. Probably this is it, because if he can find just the regular energy, no, he definitely needs to find a double Chorus energy if he wants to attack, but he decided to go with the Zoroark in the active position, so this might still not be the GG. So we are bold on the 4 prizes. I do have that Ultra Ball, which is very important to stay in the game, and there's also Trainers Mail sitting in my hand, so if I can somehow survive this turn, probably I'm going to be able maybe even to win this game. So he just needs Flowstone and double Chorus energy to be able basically to knock me out with his Rayquaza on the bench. So there's a Mega Turbo. Can he find maybe Mega Rayquaza and that Mega Turbo and any kind of retreatment? It's very hard to say, but it's very close matchup, and I think this might end up very, very quickly, maybe even on the next turn. So there's Professor's Leather. Alright, pretty much for nothing. He's down to 1 card, and he have like 6 cards in his hand. I think this is GG. Not 100% sure. So there's a double Chorus energy, and this is Mind Jack just for the burly 10 damage. And I'm definitely going to play my Ultra Ball for Ranger and a Darkness Energy, and I'm going to take my Absol, put it onto my bench. But more than that, it's pretty much over, because after I hit with my Disaster Wing for the 80, I'm also going to discard 1 card from his deck, which is a Zoroark, so he cannot drop cards, and as you can see, somehow I managed to grab the victory right here, so very, very epic battle. Alright guys, let's do this. Let's go. So starting first, let's take a look at the opening hand. So there's a big chance that I might be able to hit Delinquent and Red card with my opening turn, which means that there's a good chance that I put my opponent down to 1 card in his hand. So if there's not going to be supporter card in his hand, he's not going to be able to set up. So that's very important. I'm starting with my Absol. In the opening hand, there is a red card, which is good. Which means that I'm going to be able to put him down to 4. But will there be a Stadium and Delinquent? Probably not. So there is a Acro Bike for that Trainer's Mail. 1 energy attachment. Definitely going to use my red card, no doubt about that. So he is going down to 4. And let's see what we can find with a Trainer's Mail. So Trainer's Mail for Professor Sycamore. I think I'll roll with my Professor Sycamore. But before I actually decide to go with my Sycamore, we'll just use my Ultra Ball. And we'll search my deck for another Absol just to have that backup attacker. It's always nice to have 1 backup attacker on your bench. And of course Professor Sycamore for 7, so I can get maybe Delinquent and a Stadium for the next turn. So there we go. There it is. That's that combo, which probably means that I will go with my Delinquent and that Dark Fang, and if I get lucky, I might be able to discard all cards from his hand. So there's Professor's Leather, which means that he can grab 2 Lightning Energies. And there we go with 1 energy attachment, and it's my turn. Alright, so this means only one thing. I'm going to use my Parallel City. Really doesn't matter on which side that Parallel City is going to be. of course, Delinquent. And that means that he's going to be without 3 cards in his hand. So that's very powerful, and I can think about using my Dark Fang or just Ultra Ball for my Mega Absol and basically put it into my hand. So I think I will definitely do that. So let's go with the Ultra Ball for the Mega Absol. But before I decide to evolve, actually, I'm going to use my Crushing Hammer, so I can maybe even discard his energy from that Rayquaza in the active position. Unfortunately not. So let's just see what else I can find with my Trainers Mail. I can grab Escape Rope for the next turn. I think I will not need Escape Rope, but I think I can grab Ultra Ball just to have 1 card less in my deck. And what to do? Let's take a risk. Let's go with a Dark Fang. Let's try to get heads. No, unfortunately, it's a tails. Okay. I was thinking maybe he had that supporter card in his hand, so he might be able to put that supporter in play, but it was the energy card. So I'm thinking about right now definitely evolving into my Mega Absol. It's time right now to evolve into Mega Absol and pass the turn. So for the next turn, I do have few options. I have V-Seeker sitting in my hand, which means that I can grab easily my Professor Sycamore 4/7, but the most important thing, there is another Professor Sycamore sitting in my hand. So let's just go with the Sycamore. Let's try to find that energy card. There we go, there is a energy, which means that I can use my Crushing Hammers, and I still have 2 of them. And there we go, it's a heads, which means that I can easily remove the energy from his Kindra on the bench. And let's go with Disaster Wing, which means 160, because that Ultra Ball is discarded. First prize is taken, so 5 more prizes to go. So 2 Kindras, no cards in his hand, basically, no energies in play, and there's just another Rayquaza, which means that it's my turn again. I definitely control this game, as you can see, so there's just another energy. Let's go with the Silent Lab, just because we can, and basically with another Disaster Wing, which means that this is going to be 160. So for the next turn, Disaster Wing will be enough for the knockout, which means that I'm very, very close to the victory right here. So 1 more energy to attach, and another Disaster Wing. The most important thing about Disaster Wing is that you can actually discard the top card of your opponent deck, so that's very, very powerful. Yeah, this seems like a GG. This seems like a GG because that opening turn was definitely devastating. So there we go. There is another Crushing Hammer sitting in my hand, which means that I can get heads. I can even maybe no sign of the Lysandre. I use my Hex Maniac right here, just in case if he might be able to find just a Remoraid as a top deck. Just in case if he's going to be able to find something like a Shame for the setup or something like that. So there's Ultra Ball. Let's take a look what he's going to take with the Ultra Ball. Maybe Remoraid. Yep, there it is. There's a Remoraid in the active position. Not in the active, on the bench. And I guess I can attach 1 more energy, but probably I'm not going to do that. Let's just go with another Disaster Wing for 80. And there's that was the N as the top deck. That was definitely a very powerful top deck. Luckily, he was not able to grab that N, which means that there's another Kindra in the active position, and I just need to knock out that Kindra to take 2 more prizes. And there's a big V-Seeker 4N, so this is definitely going to be a very, very huge play right here. So I just didn't want to waste my turn by Mega Evolving by another Absol on the bench. I mean, I still can use my Dark Edge hit for the 100, which is also pretty decent attack. So that Kindra is not going to be able to do anything significantly right here. I mean, it can just hit for the 20, but then again, I already have my Mega Absol who's ready to do tons of damage. And I also have a lot of cards in my discard pile. So even if I manage to get V-Seeker as a top deck, this is going to be very big play. So another Disaster Wing for 160 again. And as you can see, this is definitely GG on the next turn. There is no chance that the Kindra will be able to do anything. So the first win is here. Definitely looking forward for the game number 2. And there's another round of the N, which means that I'm going down to 2 cards again. Let's see which 2 cards I'm going to get. Another Professor Sycamore and Darkness Energy, but there's just another 20 damage, which means that this is pretty much it. So another Disaster Wing. Will it be another 160 damage? So yeah, let's move to the game number 2. Alright guys, so welcome to the game number 3 in this Mega Absol deck test. So I'm starting first again, as you can see. So let's take a look at the opening hand. So no sign of the basic Pokemon. On the other side, Noctowl with the Vileplume. Okay, so this is definitely going to be very, very big play. Okay, so there is a red card, and there's an Acro Bike and a Trainers Mail, following with the Absol, which means that I can have near perfect start right here if you know what I mean. So I just need to find Delinquent and a Stadium card, which is probably going to be somewhere in the top card of my deck. I can feel that. I can feel this play. I'm down to 1 card. Oh, there's a few mulligans, which means that I'm probably going to be able to draw a few more cards, and definitely going to be able probably to find that Stadium and a Delinquent. So let's see. 1 card, 2 cards, 3 cards in addition. So just 2 more Absols. Alright, I think I'm okay just with 1 Absol on my bench. And this is gonna be a Trainer's Mail. And the Trainer's Mail is gonna be for Professor Sycamore. Okay. And still I have 2 Acro Bikes, so I need Stadium. Okay, so there is just the energy card. Of course I'm going to attach one of my energies. There's just another Acro Bike, which means that there is only Professor Sycamore. And overall, I'm going to play my red card, basically. And I don't know if I should go with my Professor Sycamore or not. I mean, I can always Escape Rope if I want. But let's go with Professor Sycamore for 7. Really need that Stadium and Delinquent as fast as I can. So there's a Delinquent and there's a Super Rod, which means that I use my Super Rod, bring back some resources back into my deck. 2 Delinquents sitting in my hand, which means that if he plays his Force of the Giant Plant, but probably he's going to be forced to use the Force of the Giant Plant, I'm going to be able to use my Delinquent and discard 3 cards from his hand, which is definitely going to be a very big blow. So there's a Shaman for 4. Actually, it was for 3, so that setup might be good, might be bad. And there's Professor Sycamore, which means that he didn't find what he was looking for, and he was probably looking for those Vileplume, Oddish, and Glum. Family line with Force of the Giant Plant, but still no sign of the Force of the Giant Plant in play, which means only one thing, that this is going to be Ultra Ball, probably for the Shaman number 2. Alright, so there is Oddish actually. Very good tech in this Vileplume deck with oh, I'm going to use my Delinquent definitely. With this Noctowl deck is definitely Wobbuffet, because Wobbuffet with the Flowstone can help you to promote Wobbuffet in the active position, and with the Wobbuffet in the active position you can just easily get third of the item cards when you get knocked out in the active position, and later you can just retreat your Wobbuffet on your bench and prevent your opponent from being able to play item cards. So there's a Super Rod, which means that he can bring back those Noctowl lines in his deck. But that's pretty much it. So again, I managed to disrupt my opponent's hand. So this is going to be Disaster Wing, and I'm going to hit 80 or 160 third per turn, and also discard a card from the top deck of my opponent. So there's another Hoot just promoted in the active position, which is a top deck Trainer's Mail, which is pretty decent top deck. If there's a V-Seeker or Professor Sycamore or anything like that, he can just easily put anything from his discard pile back into his deck. But he managed to find Revitalizer, which means that he can bring that Glum in on the bench and pass his turn. But probably this is going to mean only one thing, that I'm going to just use again my Disaster Wing. I know that I'm going to be locked up next turn with that Vileplume, so at least I managed to remove all of his, almost all of his Hoots from play. So there's another Trainer's Mail. Will he be able to find V-Seeker right now? Yep, there's Professor Sycamore, which means that he can finally grab 7 cards with Professor Sycamore, and he didn't decide to play that Vileplume. Of course, you want first to try to set up as much as you can. So there's another round of the Super Rod, which means that 2 Hoot-Hoots, maybe even Glum, is going to be put back into his deck. Okay. I still have 4 prizes. He's down to 6 prizes, and I'm definitely in very big advantage. 210 HP, probably not going to be that easy to knock out, so there's a Noctowl with a high flight, which says 20 times. 20 times the number of item cards revealed in both hands. So I have 2 Crushing Hammers. Not a big deal, I guess. I really need to waste all of my Crushing Hammers if the Vileplume will not enter the play next turn. But the most important thing, I do have it Parallel City, which means that I can easily disrupt 3 cards from my opponent's hand. There's a high flight, and he actually didn't decide to roll with another Shaman, which is very, very interesting. And that's the reason why probably this is going to be a GG. So there's a Crushing Hammer, which is a heads, and that means that I'm going to play my Delinquent. Really doesn't matter on which side. I'm going to use my red card. Red card basically will help me to put him down to 4 cards. After that, I'm going to use my Delinquent, which means that he's forced again to discard 3 cards from his hand. Definitely his hand was good. Previously turn there was Double Colors Energy, there was Ultra Ball, Shaman-EX, and Noctowl Break. But as you can see, he's down to 1 card. I'm going to use my Disaster Wing. If the top deck is a trainer card, this is going to be 160, and yes, it is 160, which means that this is probably a GG right here again. So Pokémon Ranger as the top deck, and again, I just take 60 damage from 1 attack of that Noctowl. So there's a Grass Energy attachment, and it's pretty much my turn, which means that I'm going to use my Crushing Hammer. And as you can see, it was good. I managed to get heads on it, so let's just go with Disaster Wing. 1 more card to discard, and it's a Hoot-Hoot, which means that this is definitely a GG on the next turn, because probably Shaman is going to be knocked out easily if I'm going to be able to find Trainer as a top deck. Guys, let's call the heads, and let's try to win 1 more game in a row. So as you can see, I'm starting first, so hopefully I can get that a very, very deadly turn 1 combo, which means red card, which means Absol, which means energy, a Delinquent, and any kind of the stadium card, so I can basically force my opponent to go down to 1 card in just a first turn. So a very good setup on the other side. Already, as you can see, he has 4 cards in his hand, so that means that only a Delinquent and stadium will do the job. But unfortunately, I don't have basic Pokemon, which means that he's going to be able to drop some extra resources. And at least I managed to find that red card. So red card is definitely going to be a big deal right here. Alright, so let's take a look against what kind of deck I'm playing on the other side. So 4 Pokemons in total. And there's a Klefki, Oddish. Well, I will assume it's a Westwick and Vileplume. Really. Okay, so let's take a look at that Trainers Mail. What is going to be? It's going to be Acro Bike. Alright, so I'm going to put another Absol on my bench just in case of some crazy knockout and something like that. There is another Acro Bike. I'm going to use another Acro Bike right here. And this is going to be a Crushing Hammer. Probably. I don't want to do that. We'll just use my Ultra Ball, 4 red card, and a V-Seeker. And of course, I want to use my Mega Absol so I can have the one in my hand. Of course, I decide to keep my V-Seeker just in case I top deck N or something like that instead of the Crushing Hammer, because I'm probably gonna be item locked from the Vileplume. There is a Trainer's Mail on the other side for the Forest of the Giant Plant, of course. That sounds reasonable. And there's a Level Ball, which means that the Level Ball can be for the Unknown, can be for the Glum, can even be for the Combi. There's really tons of different options. A Klefki is definitely a good card because that Wonderlock ability is definitely going to be a big deal. I'm not going to be able to attack my opponent if the Klefki is attached on it for a turn. So there we go with a Forest of the Giant Plant on the other side and Westwick. So far, no basic Pokemons, no evolution Pokemons. Oh, there's one Klefki. actually placed on the Vespiquen, and there's a Lysandre on my Absol on the bench, which means that it's my turn. So that's not that bad, I guess. I'm just going to hit for 0 because of the resistance, but if I can get heads, I can disrupt that card from his hand. Unfortunately, was not able to get heads, so I should probably just Mega Evolve instead of trying to use my Dark Fang, but never mind. So still he cannot move that Klefki from the active position, and probably I'm going to waste one turn before I actually manage to evolve. But really doesn't matter because right now it is turned for a Mega Evolution into the Absol, which means that I finally managed to get my Mega Absol so I can start to use my Disaster Wing, which is definitely going to be a very, very big deal. So there's a Firewall Leather for 1, which means that he still needs to find a top deck. So a Firewall Leather again for 1 more card. Can he find maybe Sycamore, and maybe Ultra Ball for Shaman? We shall definitely see that. So there's a double Chorus Energy, and there's a Shaman EX for big 5 cards as the setup goes on, which means that he might be even able to maybe retreat that Klefki from the active position, maybe not. As long as Vileplume is not in play, I don't need to worry too much. Oh, so this is going to be Klefki ability triggered on that Vileplume, on that Vespiquen, which means that I'm not going to be able to attack his Vespiquen with my Mega Absol for a turn. And there's a Trainer's Mail for the N. Will there might be a N? Who knows? Maybe just gonna be Beer Revenge for like a 50. Maybe not. So another Shaman for 2. And there we go with a setup number 2 in this game. And there's another Blunt that just enters the play. And what else he can find? Pretty much any kind of supporter will help me. So there's a N, which means that I'm going to grab a fresh hand of 6 new cards. And there is just a couple trainer cards that probably I'm not going to be able to use if the Vileplume enters the play. So how many Klefkis? We have 2 total right now in play. 1 attached on the Vespiquen, 1 is in the discard pile, so 4 Pokemons in his discard pile at total. There is also 1 Combi, and there we go with the Vileplume. So there is a item block and a Beer Revenge for barely 60 damage, which means only one thing, that if I can find my Mega Absol, definitely I'm gonna be able to evolve right here because I cannot attack for this turn. So before I do that, I'm probably gonna just use my Silent Lab, and of course a Mega Evolve into Mega Absol. And that's pretty much it. So we are right now equaled. There is no more Klefki, which means that he can hit right now for the 70, and there's another round of the Forest of the Giant Plant. Will he be able maybe to find another Vespiquen? So there's a Vileplume number 2, which means that he can maybe even tries to retreat on that Vileplume, take some punishment to increase the damage that he can do with his Vespiquen, or he can just go straight away for those 70 damage. But then, if I can find a any kind of the trainer card as a top deck after I actually use my Disaster Wing, this is going to be knockout for that Vespiquen. So there we go with Disaster Wing. No Glum is discarded, which means that I'm going to increase his damage for 10 extra, which means that he can hit right now for the 80, which is definitely going to be enough for that Beer Revenge. There we go. There is a knockout. He can also take 2 prizes. I only have 1 Absol sitting in the active position, so I think it's time to go with Professor Sycamore to try find another Absol, so I can put more energies on it. So let's see, there is an Absol, but there is no sign of the energies, and a Disaster Wing. Hopefully this is going to be, oh, just another Vespiquen. Okay, it's not a trainer card, it's a Vespiquen. At least 10 more damage he can do. So right now he have 5, 6, 7, 9 Pokemons in his discard pile. So that means that he can hit me for 110. And I really need to find a way to knock out his Vespiquen as fast as I can. So there's 1 more Unknown sitting on his bench, which means that this is going to be another round of the Firewall Leather. Double Chorus Energy managed to find. So there's also Professor Sycamore, and he actually decided to go with Professor Sycamore for 7. So how many Pokemons are in this pile? Tons of them. So there is 3, 4, 5, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That's 150 damage. That's tons of damage actually, and I really need to knock out his Vesperqueen. So I cannot play my red card, but I can definitely use a turn of the trainer cards if I decide to roll with my Hex Maniac, and probably I should do that. So let's go with the Hex Maniac. Let's go with the Crushing Hammer, which is gonna give me a Tails. So Acro Bike for another Absol. No, I think I should just stick with a Delinquent. And the next logical step for me probably gonna be a red card. So I really want to red card his hand, because there's a bigger chance that I might gonna be able basically to discard item card or any kind of trainer card as a top deck, and that he might not be able actually to find double colors energy. So double colors energy discardment, not a bad discard, but again, he's gonna be able to knock out my Vesperqueen right now, which is definitely very, very bad. Oh, not my Vesperqueen, but my Mega Absol. I do have that Delinquent, which means that I can discard some of his cards from his hand, and that's gonna be very important. But as long as I don't have energy in play, I'm not gonna be able to do anything significantly. And there's another double colors energy, which means that he's gonna be able to knock out my Mega Absol pretty easily for 150. And I really need to find maybe Mega Absol as the top deck. Nope, there's just a Delinquent sitting in my hand, which means that this is GG. Unfortunately, Vileplume was a big deal right here. Was not able to play against Vileplume. Alright, so I guess I can just pass my turn. There is no need to play the Parallel City, because Vesperqueen can hit for a lot of damage and can hit for like 6, 8, 10, 160. And what I can top deck, let's take a look. I can top deck a Professor Sycamore. The most important thing about that Professor Sycamore is that I'm not going to be able to retreat by any means my Absol from the anchor position, not even close. So I guess I can just hit for 20, or I can just Mega Evolve for the fun. But this is pretty much it. So yeah, Vileplume, definitely good. Was not able to get against Vileplume because that early item log definitely was too big for a Mega Absol. I hope you guys enjoy watching this video. It was definitely interesting to play with the Mega Absol. So yeah, pretty much just running quad Absol and 3 Mega Absol with tons of disruptive cards can definitely be a tons of fun. So once again, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you already didn't. And until the next time, have a nice day. See you in the next video, and goodbye.